Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Killer Jam by MacInerney, performed by Teri Linden. For Marianne and Clovis Heimsath. Chapter 1. I've always heard it's no use crying over spilled milk. But after 3 days of attempting to milk Blossom the cow, formerly heifer number 82, only to have her deliver a well-timed kick that deposited the entire contents of my bucket on the stall floor, it was hard not to feel a few tears of frustration forming in the corners of my eyes. Stifling a sigh, I surveyed the giant puddle on the floor of the milking stall and reached for the hose. I'd tried surrounding the bucket with blocks, holding it in place with my feet, even tying the handle to the side of the stall with a length of twine. But for the 6th straight time, I had just squeezed the last drops from the teats when Blossom swung her right rear hoof in a kind of bovine hook kick, walloping the top of the bucket and sending gallons of the creamy white fluid spilling across both the concrete floor and my boots. I reprimanded her, but she simply tossed her head and grabbed another mouthful of feed I affectionately called cow chow. She looked so unassuming, so velvety-nosed and kind, with big, long-lashed eyes. At least she had on the day I'd selected her from the line of cows for sale at the Double Bar Ranch. Despite all the reading I'd done on selecting a heifer, when she pressed her soft nose up against my cheek, I knew she belonged at Dewberry Farm. Thankfully, the rancher I'd purchased her from had seemed more than happy to let her go, extolling her good nature and excellent production. He'd somehow failed to mention her phobia of filled buckets. Now, as I watched the tawny heifer gamboling into the pasture beside my farmhouse, kicking her heels up in what I imagined was a cow's version of the middle finger, I took a deep breath and tried to be philosophical about the whole thing. She still had those big brown eyes, and it made me happy to think of her in my pasture rather than the cramped conditions at Double Bar Ranch. And she'd only kicked the milk bucket, not me. Despite the farm's growing pains, as I turned toward the farmhouse, I couldn't help but smile. After 15 years of life in Houston, I now lived in a century-old...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?